Hey everyone, welcome back to Fantasy Theory. This week's episode of Gen V, episode 6, titled Jumanji was wild. I know when you think of Jumanji, you think of the movie or the board game, but this episode has nothing to do with The Rock or Jack Black. This episode was chaos to say the least. We saw the characters that we thought we knew in a whole different way, the extent of Kate's powers, just how cruel Dean and Indira can be, and a surprisingly hilarious Soldier Boy cameo. I do want to note that this episode titled Jumanji represents Kate's powers. The first time we see Kate use her powers was on Rufus when she made him hit himself in the crotch and yell Jumanji. Jumanji! Now, I may be reaching here, but I think that title is a callback to that. Enough teasing, let's jump into it. This episode starts with Kate refreshing Emma of all the intense and quite gruesome chain of events that she has made her forget after having the rest of the group regain their memories, we assume. We now see that a few broken blood vessels in her eyes aren't the only effect from Kate using her powers, as she also hears voices, which I believe goes even further. I think she could read people's minds or hear their thoughts. Now, I don't know if she could always do this or if she is kind of evolving, kind of like how Marie has been for the last few episodes. Like in each episode she learns a new power of hers. We jump to Andre and Marie talking perhaps about what really happened to Luke. Andre now believes she made Luke kill Brink and end his own life afterwards, while Marie is convinced that Dean made Kate do all of this, as she is just as messed up as all of them are, and that this was not Kate's fault. It's interesting to note that Marie defends Kate here, either because they have similar family trauma or because Marie also was being groomed by Dean and Indira. We hear Jordan yell for help and see Kate seizing on the floor. Marie discovers yet another element in her powers, and that's controlling Kate's pulse and speeding it up so that she does not die. Over to the woods now, we see Dr. Cardosa and Dean and Indira discussing the potential virus he's working on that infects Soups and only Soups. Now here's a theory. In The Boys Season 3, the last episode, we saw Homelander kill a pedestrian, which obviously sparked the famous Homelander meme of him laughing. What if the virus is targeting Homelander by the direct order of Stan Edgar? As we know, they are not the best of friends, and Homelander did get Stan Edgar fired. But hey, that's just a fantasy theory. Anyway, we see the Soup Betsy, who's been infected with the potential virus. Dr. Cardosa believes it's ready to be passed on to Vought, and Indira does not agree. Dean and Indira wants to see how sick they can exactly make these soups, therefore telling Dr. Cardosa to concentrate the virus on Betsy and to increase the amount. Kate disappears in thin air, and this is when things start to get really crazy. The house they are in starts to disappear when they walk out of it. They see a random woman and a cop looking for someone in the woods. Turns out we are in Kate's memories. This is the aftermath of Kate telling her brother to go away and never come back. This is when she was first able to use her powers, as we remember her telling Marie this. We see her mother and the cop are terrified of her and do not want to touch her. After the group discovers they're in a memory of Kate's, they try to figure out how and why they are there. We get the cameo that we've been waiting for, Soldier Boy. Let me tell you, whenever he's on screen, it's always incredible. Now, this is not the real Soldier Boy. This is Soldier Boy from Kate's imagination. When she was growing up, this version of Soldier Boy was her imaginary boyfriend. If you watch the episode, you know he goes into too much detail about Kate, and we'll just leave it at that. Every minute or so, lightning strikes, symbolizing when a blood vessel pops in her brain. As we know, whenever she uses her powers, we see the leaking blood vessels in her eyes. Soldier Boy explains to the group that they have to find a way out or they'll be stuck in Kate's memories forever. As the lightning strikes, Kate gets worse and worse, and the group gets further from finding a way out. Just as Soldier Boy goes to tell them the most important thing, he gets blown to pieces by the lightning. Classic TV moment when the character is about to give the answer and dies. I don't know if this is the boys just poking fun at that classic thing or if they're actually doing it for the plot, but at the drive-in we see Sam eating a box of Vought Twists, which are just Twizzlers, and referring back to the last breakdown, they love to put Vought in front of mainstream things to make it their own. Emma finds Sam to tell him she has regained her memories and remembers him. They share an intimate kiss, which leads to other explicit activities, wink wink. I want to make note that while this is happening, Emma turns into a puppet again for a few seconds. However, I have a theory. Maybe Sam is starting to gain control of his hallucinations in his mind, as Emma quickly returns back to human form. In the past, it seems his hallucinations had more control over him than he did of them. Perhaps being with Emma is slowly healing Sam's mind. Back to pre-Godolkin Kate, who's conveniently living in a cabin in the woods. We see her in what seems to be her bedroom, locked behind a steel door. Steel doors are a theme in Gen V. As we know, in Godolkin, they have the steel doors and steel cages around the school in case of any events. Her mother brings Dean and Indira to her to talk to her, but warns her not to get too close. Dean and Indira does not listen to the mother and tells her to give them some privacy. Indira sits down with Kate, letting her know she's not afraid of her, unlike her mother. Indira goes as far as telling her to remove her gloves and offering a hug, which she's longed for for 9 years since the incident with her brother. Indira plays the role of a concerned mother to Kate so well. Meanwhile, she is one of the most manipulative characters between the boys and Gen V. I wonder what was going through Indira's head years ago and what her intentions were originally with Kate, if there was an underlying plan all along. Kate explains to Indira that she hears voices and they won't stop. Indira offers her pills to take every day, claiming they will make the voices go away. Kate, being in such a vulnerable state and getting the emotional comfort she's been longing for, would clearly do anything that Indira says. Now remember what I said at the beginning of the breakdown. The characters that we are beginning to understand and love take a major twist, starting with Andre. We get the cool transition shutting the TV that is playing Kate's old memories, and we are back at a class at Godolphin. Students start to enter the classroom and in comes Luke, introducing himself to Kate. This must be the first time they met, obviously. Andre becomes overwhelmed with emotion and says he can't stay any longer and turns to leave. Luke breaks out of the memory and addresses Andre directly and says, "I miss you." Tears gather in Andre's eyes and responds back, "I miss you too." Now here's where the whole episode begins to twist. Luke says to Andre he's known all along what he's done. Now, just as confused as Andre looked, I was as well. Kate has been cheating on Luke with Andre the entire length of their relationship, which I guess makes sense as to why they hooked up immediately following Luke's death. I know a lot of people thought that was weird, but I guess now it tracks. After showing the group memories of Andre's and Kate's on the TV, Luke starts to ignite his powers, furious at Andre. The group tries to fight back, but they find their powers do not work in the memory. And poor Dusty. Kid had no idea why he was even there all along and gets absolutely annihilated by Luke. I'm assuming that this also means in real life from what Soulja Boy stated earlier in the episode. The group runs away from Luke, transitioning themselves into a memory of Jordan's now. Outside the office of Professor Brink, the group hears arguing from what seems to be Luke and Professor Brink. As we will find out later in the episode, Kate tells Dean Indira and Professor Brink that for some reason her powers do not fully work on Luke. Every time she makes him forget, he still remembers some portion of the memory and he never truly forgets. Jordan bursts the door open in her memory and sees Brink with a syringe in his hand and Luke yelling, claiming he is a liar and wants to know where Sam is. I wonder if this is an early onset version of the virus that Indira and Cardosa are trying to perfect. Jordan sneaks up behind Luke and makes him pass out with an unknown gas after the syringe does not work. Later, we finally see Marie's memories of the day she killed her parents. She speaks to her sister, who claims that Marie wanted to do what she did and she should not forgive herself. Now, I don't know if what her sister is saying is actually true or if it's just a negative voice in Marie's head trying to persuade her she is at fault. But if it is true, it goes to show how the whole group isn't as innocent as we thought. As we remember, when Kate told Marie about sending her brother away, it was an innocent mistake, an accident. But in this case of Marie, there could have been possible cruel intent in the moment. Andre cheating behind Luke's back, Jordan getting the TA position, and Marie accidentally killing her parents. The group wakes up and we know this to be real life because their powers have returned, as we see Jordan switch to their female version. Also, funny thing, I don't believe we've ever seen on screen Jordan switching genders. I wonder what that looks like. Sam and Emma walk in and Sam is enraged when he sees Kate. We, the viewer, not knowing how long it's been since the last time they've seen each other, Sam attacks Kate and also everyone else trying to interfere, further proving he may be the strongest out of the group and all of Godolphin. I want to point out we see a Black Noir poster as well as a poster of Big Crazy Love with the words Sloan was here. Sloan is the llama in the previous episode, so I guess this is a soup who could turn into animals, similar to Beast Boy from the Teen Titans. When Emma convinces Sam to not hurt Kate, Kate admits that Dean Indira is behind the woods, that they were using Sam to increase Luke's powers. Now you may ask, why not just use Sam? The reason being, I think, is that Sam was too mentally unstable, harder to control. Rather than taking a gamble on Sam being the picture-perfect soup, they tried to enhance Luke and make him even better than Homelander. At the woods, we see the virus was taken too far by Dr. Cardosa. Dean Indira walks in and sees the soup Betsy on the floor, dead, covered in boils. We see the pure evil in Shetty when she's more intrigued than horrified, and then asks Dr. Cardosa if he can make the virus contagious, and the episode ends. Alright, let me know what you guys thought of this episode. This was one of my favorites so far because of how much it answered and how much it progressed the story. As we know, Sam says that Shetty hates soups. Why? As we know in one of the earlier episodes, Shetty told Marie she had a daughter that died. Now, I don't believe we know how she died. However, my theory is that either she injected her daughter with Compound V and it went wrong, or her daughter was killed by a soup. Hence the hatreds towards soups. It seems Shetty is devoting her life to taking down soups. For someone to be working this hard towards it, she had to be affected, or her daughter in that case, by Supes in some way, shape, or form. But again, you let me know down below where you think this series is going. As we know, there are only a couple episodes left, and season 2 was confirmed the other day, so that's exciting. Thank you all for watching. Like and subscribe. I will see you all on the next one. Have a great day.